"Sir, she's too weak to beg," the little girl said. Then the CEO looked into the trunk and froze. "Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our story. In a quiet corner of a bustling city, under the gray clouds of an early winter morning, a lone figure stood waiting. Emma, a young girl with messy hair and worn-out shoes, stood in front of an old bus stop, clutching her coat tightly around her small frame. The wind blew harshly, cutting through the air like a blade, and the distant hum of traffic was barely audible over the roar of her thoughts. She had barely enough for her next meal, but today was different. She had just enough to get by, just enough to survive another day. She shifted on her feet, looking at the rain-slicked pavement beneath her, wondering how much longer she could keep going like this. The bus was late, the cold seeping into her bones. It was then she noticed him, a man in a well-fitted suit, looking out of place on a day like this. His posture was rigid, but his eyes were distant, lost in thought. He looked tired, yet something about him caught her attention. He was standing too, waiting for something or someone, but the emptiness in his eyes mirrored her own. She looked away, pretending she hadn't noticed. But then, the wind howled again, and she shivered, tightening her grip on her coat. The man glanced over at her, his gaze softening just a little. Without thinking, she took a step forward. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Are you all right?" The man blinked, startled, his lips parted, as if he was about to speak, but hesitated. I'm fine," he said, his voice low. She could tell he wasn't. She noticed the exhaustion in his eyes, the way he seemed disconnected from everything around him. He was cold, just like her. "Here," she said before she even thought, pulling off her thin jacket and offering it to him. "You look like you could use it more than I do." The man stared at her for a moment, as if trying to process what had just happened. His eyes flickered with surprise. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice soft but steady. She simply nodded, offering a small smile. "You're too kind," he said, taking the jacket from her hands. They both stood there for a moment, the wind howling around them, the world spinning in slow motion. It was an unusual connection, one born out of kindness, but it felt real. She turned to leave, but something in her gut told her to look back. As she did, she saw him watching her, his eyes not just filled with gratitude but something more, a spark of recognition. The bus arrived just then, and the man disappeared into the crowd. She didn't know what it was, but something about that brief encounter had left a mark on her. Later that evening, as Emma sat on the cold, hard bench of her tiny apartment, the world seemed a little emptier than it had been that morning. She had always believed kindness mattered, but today, it felt like it had made a difference in more ways than one. She could still feel the weight of the jacket in her hands, the warmth of the stranger's touch, and the flicker of connection they had shared. But she knew that was just a fleeting moment in a world that often seemed indifferent. Little did she know, that moment would change everything for both of them in ways they never could have imagined. The days passed, and the memory of the man with the suit and the cold wind began to fade into the background of Emma's life. She continued her routine, barely scraping by, her small apartment always a reminder of how far she had yet to go. She worked long hours at a local diner, serving meals to customers who rarely noticed her presence. It was the kind of life that slowly wore a person down, but Emma had always been a fighter. She had dreams, even if they seemed far out of reach. One of those dreams was to open her own art studio, to create something beautiful from the mess of her life. But right now, that seemed impossible. Her rent was due, and she could barely afford the bus fare to get to work. Still, Emma smiled through it all, because what else could she do? The world didn't wait for you to catch up. One morning, just as she was finishing her shift, she saw a familiar face walk into the diner. It was him, the man from the bus stop. He was dressed in a tailored suit, looking just as out of place in this small diner as he had in the cold, empty street. His eyes met hers, and for a brief moment, neither of them moved. He looked just as surprised to see her as she was to see him. But this time, there was something different in his gaze, something softer, warmer. He approached her slowly, his footsteps hesitant. "Emma?" he asked, his voice low but familiar. "It's me, the guy you gave your jacket to." Emma froze. She could hardly believe it. The man from the bus stop, the one who had taken her jacket in the cold, was standing in front of her now. "I didn't expect to see you here," Emma said, trying to keep her voice steady. "What are you doing here?" He smiled faintly, almost nervously. "I wanted to thank you for what you did. That jacket. It meant more than you know." He paused, glancing around the diner as if he didn't quite belong here either. "Can I sit?" he asked. Emma nodded, still in shock. She led him to a booth, unsure of what was happening. He sat across from her, taking a deep breath before speaking again. "I'm Liam," he said. Liam Parker. The name didn't immediately register in Emma's mind, but she could tell by the way he spoke it that it was important. He seemed to hesitate, as though unsure how much to share. Well, I'm not just some guy off the street," he said, his eyes flickering with uncertainty. "I'm the CEO of Parker Technologies." Emma blinked, taken aback by his revelation. The CEO of Parker Technologies? The man who had looked so lost in the street, so vulnerable in that moment, was actually a millionaire? She didn't know what to say. "I know this must sound strange," Liam continued, sensing her shock. "But I've been going through a lot lately. Things at work and personal stuff. I needed to get away from it all. And when I saw you, I don't know. Something about you made me want to talk to you. You were kind to me when no one else was." Emma still didn't know what to make of it. Here he was, a millionaire, sitting across from her in this small diner, acting like they were equals. She had never imagined anything like this would happen. "I didn't expect to be sitting here with you either," Emma said, laughing softly to herself. "But I guess life has a funny way of surprising you." Liam smiled, his expression softening. "I'm serious, though," he said. "I want to do something for you. You helped me in a way I can't really explain, and I'd like to return the favor." Emma raised an eyebrow, unsure of where this was going. "What do you mean?" "I want to offer you a job," Liam said, his voice steady. "I know you've been working hard here, but I can help you take the next step. I can give you the opportunity to work with me at Parker Technologies. I can help you with your dream, your art studio, if you still want it." Emma's breath caught in her throat. This was too much. She had never expected this, not in a million years. A job with someone like him? She had always felt so far removed from people like Liam, people who had everything handed to them. I don't know what to say," she murmured. "You don't have to decide right now," Liam said quickly, sensing her hesitation. "I just wanted to offer you the chance. You've got something special, Emma. You deserve a chance to make your dreams come true." Emma sat back in her seat, still trying to process everything. This was more than she had ever dared to hope for. But at the same time, she felt a pang of doubt. Was she really worthy of this? Was she just another person he was helping because he could? She looked at Liam, and for the first time, she saw something in his eyes, a sincerity, a kindness that went beyond his wealth and status. Maybe he wasn't just offering her a job. Maybe he was offering her a new life, a chance to be something more than she had ever believed possible. "I'll think about it," Emma said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I don't know if I'm ready for something like that." Liam nodded, his smile never wavering. "Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Just know that the offer is there, whenever you're ready." Emma spent the next few days in a haze, unable to stop thinking about Liam's offer. She'd replayed their conversation in her head 1,000 times, trying to make sense of it all. How could a man like him, someone so successful, so out of her league, be interested in helping her? It was hard for Emma to believe. Her life had never been about connections or networks. It had always been about survival. Yet here was this man, offering her a chance to do something she never thought possible. The more she thought about it, the more her doubts grew. She had no formal education, no special training. She was just a waitress with a dream. Who was she to be working for a CEO? But then again, who was she to turn down the opportunity of a lifetime? The truth was, she was scared. Scared of failure. Scared of the unknown. and scared of what her life might look like if she actually took the leap. But as the days passed, Emma found herself more and more drawn to the idea. She began to see glimpses of a future she'd always dreamed of, one where she wasn't just scraping by, one where she had the chance to build something for herself. A life where she didn't have to live in fear of losing everything. That night, as she sat alone in her tiny apartment, Emma felt a sense of urgency that she hadn't felt in years. She had to make a decision. She had to take a chance. Her fingers hovered over her phone, her heart racing as she debated calling Liam. What if he regretted offering her the job? What if he thought she wasn't good enough? But then she remembered the way he had looked at her, the sincerity in his eyes when he said she had something special. She wasn't just another charity case to him. He saw something in her, something worth investing in. With a deep breath, Emma tapped the phone screen and dialed his number. The phone rang once, then twice. She felt her stomach tighten, but she pushed through. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Liam picked up. "Hello, Emma," he said, his voice warm and welcoming. "I've been thinking about you." She hesitated for a moment, gathering her thoughts. "Liam," she began, her voice a little shaky. "I've been thinking a lot about your offer. And I think I'm ready to take you up on it. I'm ready to start something new." There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and Emma's heart raced, wondering if she had made the right choice. Then, finally, Liam spoke again. "That's great to hear, Emma. I'm glad you're ready. I knew you had it in you. Let's meet tomorrow, and we can talk about the next steps. I'm looking forward to working with you." His words filled her with a rush of excitement and relief, and for the first time in a long while, Emma felt a sense of hope. Maybe this was the start of something real. Maybe, just maybe, she was about to change her life. The next morning, Emma stood outside a sleek, glass building in the heart of the city. The sun was shining, and the streets were alive with the hustle and bustle of people going about their business. It felt surreal to her. This wasn't the world she had ever been a part of, but now, here she was, standing on the edge of it. She took a deep breath and walked through the doors, her heart pounding in her chest. Liam was waiting for her in the lobby, his calm demeanor making her feel a little more at ease. "Emma," he said with a smile, standing up to greet her. "I'm so glad you could make it." He extended his hand, and Emma shook it, surprised at how warm his grip was. "Thank you for believing in me," she said softly. "I'm excited, but I'm also a little nervous." Liam chuckled, a kind, reassuring sound. "That's normal. But remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just need to be yourself. That's what I saw in you." They walked together through the building, Liam showing her the office space and introducing her to the team. Emma couldn't help but feel a little out of place. The sleek, modern decor, the quiet buzz of the office, it was all so different from the small diner she worked at. But as Liam guided her through the halls, she began to feel a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. She wasn't just some outsider. She was part of something. By the end of the day, Emma was exhausted but exhilarated. She had seen the work she would be doing, met the people she'd be working with, and gotten a glimpse into the world Liam had built. It was intimidating, yes. But it was also inspiring. She could do this. She had to. As she left the building that evening, Emma's phone buzzed with a text message from Liam. "You did great today. I'm proud of you. Let's make this happen." The words filled her with warmth, and as she walked down the busy streets, her steps felt a little lighter. She had made the right choice. This was only the beginning, and she was ready to take on whatever came next. The next few weeks passed by in a blur, as Emma settled into her new role at Parker Technologies. The office, sleek and modern, was a far cry from the small diner she had worked in before, but Emma quickly found her rhythm. She was tasked with organizing creative projects, helping with the design of marketing materials, and managing a few client accounts. It was a lot to take on at first, but every time she felt overwhelmed, she would remember Liam's words. "Just be yourself. That's what I saw in you." And so, she did. She worked late some nights, learning as much as she could, driven by a newfound sense of purpose. It wasn't just about the job. It was about proving to herself that she belonged in this world. Liam continued to check in on her progress, offering words of encouragement whenever she needed them. It was clear to Emma that he wasn't just her boss, He was invested in her success. He treated her like an equal, not someone beneath him, and that made all the difference. But despite the positive changes, Emma still had her doubts. There were moments when she would look around the office at her coworkers, all of them so polished, so confident, and wonder if she truly fit in. It wasn't easy to shake the feeling that she was just pretending to be part of this world, that it was only a matter of time before everyone realized she didn't belong. One evening, as Emma was finishing up some work in the office, she overheard a conversation between Liam and one of the senior executives, a man named Tom. They were discussing a big project coming up, and Emma couldn't help but eavesdrop. "I think Emma's really coming into her own," Liam said, his voice full of admiration. "She's a natural, and I know she's going to be a big asset to the team." Emma froze. She hadn't expected to hear that. She had always felt like she was barely keeping her head above water, like any moment now, someone would realize she didn't belong. But Liam? He believed in her. He saw her potential. It was more than just a job now. It was an opportunity to prove herself, not to anyone else, but to herself. The next day, Emma found herself standing in front of a room full of executives, including Liam and Tom, presenting her first big project. Her heart raced, but she reminded herself to breathe. This was her moment. She had earned it. As she spoke, explaining the vision behind the design and how it aligned with the company's goals, she saw the nods of approval around the room. Liam's face was stoic, but his eyes were warm, watching her with a quiet pride. When she finished, there was a brief silence before Tom spoke up. "That was excellent, Emma. Very impressive," he said, offering a small smile. Liam stood up next, walking over to Emma with a grin. "I told you," he said softly, his voice just loud enough for her to hear. "You've got this." In that moment, Emma felt something shift inside her. It wasn't just the approval of her coworkers, or the recognition from her boss. It was the realization that she had done it. She had made it. She had proven to herself that she was worthy of this chance, and she wasn't going to waste it. Later that afternoon, Liam pulled her aside. "I'm proud of you, Emma," he said, his voice full of sincerity. "You've come a long way, and I know this is just the beginning. There's so much more in store for you." Emma felt a surge of emotion well up inside her. She had come so far in such a short amount of time, and yet it felt like the beginning of something much bigger. She had always dreamed of something more, but now she was living it. As the weeks went on, Emma continued to grow both personally and professionally. She worked hard, but she also started to find balance in her life. She spent more time with her friends, exploring the city, and even picking up her paintbrush again. Her dreams of opening an art studio didn't feel so distant anymore. They felt possible. One night, after a long day at work, Emma sat in her small apartment, reflecting on everything that had happened. She thought about the girl who used to sit at a diner, dreaming of something more, and the woman who was now making those dreams a reality. She smiled to herself, knowing that she was finally on the right path. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Liam. "How are you doing? Just wanted to check in." She smiled, her fingers quickly typing a response. "I'm doing great, thanks to you." She hit send and leaned back in her chair, letting the weight of everything sink in. She had found her place in this world, and it felt good. But there was still one thing left: the future. She didn't know exactly what it would hold, but she knew she was ready for whatever came next. With Liam by her side, she felt like anything was possible. She was no longer just a waitress with a dream, she was someone who was living that dream, and the journey was only beginning. Weeks passed, and Emma's life continued to transform in ways she had never imagined. The work at Parker Technologies became more fulfilling as she found her rhythm, learning new skills, and gaining the respect of her colleagues. She was no longer just the girl from the diner. She was a valued member of the team, contributing ideas that were being implemented in real projects. But as her professional life flourished, Emma began to notice something she hadn't expected. Her relationship with Liam was changing. They spent more time together, not just in the office, but outside of it too. They would grab coffee together in the mornings before work, or sometimes he would invite her to lunch, asking for her thoughts on various projects. It was subtle at first, just two colleagues sharing conversations that went beyond work. But soon, it became clear that their connection was growing deeper. Emma couldn't help but notice how he looked at her sometimes. There was an intensity in his eyes, a warmth that made her heart skip a beat. She hadn't expected this. She had thought their relationship would remain strictly professional, but as the days went on, she realized that she had started to see Liam in a new light. He was no longer just her boss. He had become something more, a friend, a mentor, someone who understood her in ways that no one else did. And yet, Emma found herself unsure of what to do with these feelings. Liam had been nothing but kind to her, but she couldn't help but wonder if he saw her the same way. Was she just another project to him? Someone he wanted to help succeed? Or was there something more? One evening, as Emma was preparing to leave the office after a long day, she saw Liam standing by the window in his office, looking out at the city below. She hesitated before walking over, unsure if she should disturb him. But when he turned around and saw her, his face softened, and he smiled. "I was just thinking about you," he said, his voice quieter than usual. "I'm glad we've had the chance to work together like this." Emma smiled back, but she could feel the weight of the unspoken words between them. "Me too," she replied, her heart racing. "I never expected this, you know. I didn't think I'd be here, in this position, with all these opportunities." Liam stepped closer, his expression serious now. "You deserve all of this, Emma. You've worked harder than anyone I know, and you've earned it." There was a long pause, the air between them charged with something unspoken. Emma's mind raced. She wanted to say something, anything to break the tension, but the words didn't come. And then, almost as if he had read her mind, Liam took a deep breath and spoke again. "Emma," he said softly, his voice just above a whisper, "there's something I need to tell you." Her heart skipped a beat. She had no idea what he was about to say, but somehow she knew it was important. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Liam hesitated, his eyes searching hers for a moment before he spoke. "I don't know how to say this, but I've been thinking about you a lot lately, more than I probably should. And I just want you to know that what we've built here, what we've shared, it's not just about work for me. It's more than that." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had never expected him to say anything like this. "Liam," she whispered, "are you saying what I think you're saying?" He took another step closer, his hand gently resting on her shoulder. "I don't want to make things complicated," he said, his voice sincere. "But I can't ignore how I feel. I care about you, Emma. I think I've been falling for you." The words hung in the air between them, heavy and raw. Emma felt a rush of emotions, relief, excitement, and fear all at once. She had been afraid of this moment, of what it would mean for their professional relationship. But in that moment, with Liam standing in front of her, looking at her with such honesty, she realized that she felt the same way. She had been falling for him too, in her own quiet way. I care about you too," she said softly, her voice barely a whisper. "But I don't know what this means, Liam. We're in such different worlds. I don't want to ruin everything we've worked for." Liam smiled, his expression full of warmth and understanding. "I understand your fears, Emma. I do. But I believe in what we've built, and I believe in us. We'll figure it out together, no matter what. I'm not going anywhere." Emma's heart swelled with emotion as she looked at him, the uncertainty that had clouded her mind for so long beginning to clear. This was the beginning of something new, something real. They didn't have all the answers, but they had each other. And that, for the first time in a long time, felt like enough. Liam reached out and gently cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheek as he looked at her with a tenderness that took her breath away. "You don't have to be afraid anymore," he whispered. "I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere." With those words, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had found something more than she ever expected. A partner, a friend, and maybe even a love that would change everything. And for the first time, she felt ready to face whatever the future held. As the days passed after that pivotal moment, Emma and Liam began to navigate this new chapter of their lives together. The tension that had once existed between them, the uncertainty of what their feelings meant, seemed to melt away. They still worked closely together at Parker Technologies, but now, there was a deeper connection between them. It wasn't just about business anymore, it was about building something real. They would share private moments, stolen glances across the office, or quick touches that spoke volumes without saying a word. They both knew that their relationship was growing, but they also knew it couldn't be rushed. They had to take it slow, especially in a professional environment where things could get complicated. Emma had always been careful about opening up to people, and Liam respected that. He never pushed her. He gave her the space she needed while also showing her, day by day, that he was there for her. Not just as a boss, but as someone who truly cared. The workdays continued, but now, Emma felt a sense of purpose she had never experienced before. She no longer doubted her place at Parker Technologies. She wasn't just a novice, she was an integral part of the team. Her ideas were being heard, and she was contributing to projects that would make a real impact. She even started taking on more responsibility, proving to herself that she was capable of more than she had ever imagined. One evening, as Emma stayed late at the office to finish up a project, Liam came by to check on her. He had a gentle knock on her door, and when she looked up, he was standing there, a soft smile on his face. "Working late again?" he asked, his voice low and comforting. "I thought I might find you here." Emma smiled back, feeling the warmth of his presence. "Just trying to get this presentation ready for tomorrow," she replied. Her voice tired, but content. "I'll be done soon." Liam stepped closer, glancing at the work on her desk. "You're doing amazing, Emma," he said. "I'm really proud of you. You've come so far." Emma felt a rush of gratitude at his words, but she couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. "Thanks, but it's a lot of work. Sometimes I feel like I'm just keeping up." "You're not just keeping up, Emma," Liam said, his voice firm but full of warmth. "You're excelling. You're an asset to this company, and to me." There was a moment of silence between them, and Emma felt her heart race. She knew that what Liam was saying wasn't just about work. It was about something more. She met his eyes, the connection between them palpable. "I'm really glad you're here, Liam," she said softly. "You've really helped me believe in myself again. I'm not sure I could have done all of this without you." Liam smiled, his expression tender. "You did it yourself, Emma. I'm just happy I could be a part of it." They stood there for a moment, the air between them thick with unspoken feelings. Emma's heart ached with something she couldn't quite put into words. But Liam seemed to sense it. He reached out and gently took her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. "You know," he said, his voice quieter now, "I've been thinking about something. I don't want to rush things, but I can't ignore how I feel. You mean a lot to me, Emma." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected him to say that, not yet. But hearing those words felt like everything had finally clicked into place. "Liam," she whispered, "I care about you too, more than I thought I could." There was a tenderness in Liam's gaze, a depth of emotion that she hadn't seen before. He moved closer, his hand still holding hers, and for the first time, it didn't feel like there were any barriers between them. They were just two people, connected by something real. He gently cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheek. "I want to take this slow, Emma," he said softly. "I want us to build something together, not just in the office, but in life. You're everything I've been looking for." Emma's heart swelled with emotion. This was more than she had ever expected, more than she had ever dreamed of. It wasn't just the success at work, it was the love, the trust, and the partnership they were building together. "I want that too," she whispered, a tear slipping down her cheek. Liam wiped it away with his thumb, his eyes never leaving hers. "We'll figure this out, Emma," he said. "I know we will." That night, as they stood there in the quiet of the office, Emma felt something inside her shift. She had always been afraid of getting too close, of trusting too easily. But with Liam, everything felt different. She didn't have to be afraid anymore. He was her partner, in work and in life, and together, they would face whatever came their way. As they left the office hand in hand, Emma felt a sense of peace she had never known before. This was just the beginning, and with Liam by her side, she knew they could accomplish anything. The future was bright, and for the first time in her life, Emma truly believed that anything was possible. The weeks that followed were filled with new challenges and milestones for both Emma and Liam. Their relationship, once filled with uncertainty, had grown stronger. They continued to work together, not just as colleagues but as partners, learning more about each other every day. They shared late-night dinners, moments of quiet reflection, and spontaneous outings that allowed them to escape the pressures of work and simply enjoy each other's company. Emma felt more confident than ever, her career taking off in ways she had never imagined. The art studio she had once dreamed of opening now seemed possible, something she could actually achieve. But even with all the progress she had made, She couldn't shake the feeling that something was still missing. Emma had always been independent, relying on herself to get by. But now, she realized how much she had come to rely on Liam, not just as a mentor or a partner, but as someone who truly understood her. She knew she couldn't have come this far without his support, but the thought of being dependent on anyone still felt foreign to her. One evening, as they walked through the city streets after a long day at work, Emma decided to bring it up. "Liam," she started, her voice hesitant. "I've been thinking a lot about everything lately. Our work, our relationship, my future. I'm grateful for everything you've done for me, but I don't want to feel like I'm just relying on you. I want to make sure I'm still standing on my own 2 feet, you know?" Liam looked at her, his face thoughtful, his expression soft but serious. "I understand, Emma," he said after a moment. "I never want you to feel like you're not capable of standing on your own. You've already proven more than enough to me that you can do anything. But I also want you to know that I'm here for you, not just as your boss, but as someone who believes in you. You don't have to do this alone." Emma felt a lump form in her throat at his words. It wasn't that she didn't appreciate his support, it was just that she had always feared being too dependent on anyone, afraid it would make her weak. But hearing Liam's reassurance made her realize that dependence wasn't necessarily a bad thing, especially when it was built on trust and mutual respect. "I know," she whispered. "I just don't want to lose myself in all of this. I've worked so hard to get here, and I don't want to let anyone else's success define mine." Liam nodded, his hand gently resting on her shoulder. "I get it, Emma," he said, his voice steady and understanding. "But what I see in you isn't just someone relying on me. I see someone who is capable of achieving everything she wants, someone who's willing to work for it, no matter the cost. And that's something I admire." Emma felt the weight of his words sink in, and for the first time, she truly believed it. She had always been so focused on proving herself, on being independent and self-sufficient, that she had never really allowed herself to accept help or acknowledge the value of teamwork. But now, she understood that true strength wasn't just about standing alone. It was about having the courage to lean on others when needed, and knowing that you could still be your own person, even when you had people who cared for you and wanted to see you succeed. The next day, Emma made a decision. She had always dreamed of opening her own art studio, a space where she could create, inspire, and help others express themselves. It had seemed like an impossible dream before, something she could only fantasize about during her breaks at the diner. But now, with Liam's support and her own growing confidence, she knew it was time to make that dream a reality. She began researching locations, budgeting for the startup costs, and planning the vision for her studio. She even reached out to a few local artists for advice. But as she worked on her plans, Emma couldn't help but feel a little nervous. The path ahead was still uncertain, and there were so many things she didn't know. But then, she remembered something Liam had said to her early on. "You're capable of more than you think, Emma. Don't be afraid to take the leap." That was all she needed to hear. With Liam by her side, she knew she could do this. One evening, after a long day of brainstorming and research, Emma sat down with Liam to share her progress. He had been a quiet but steady presence throughout the process, offering advice when asked, but mostly allowing her to find her own way. When Emma finished explaining her plans, Liam smiled. "I'm proud of you," he said simply. "This is the next step for you, Emma. You've worked so hard, and now it's time to see your dream come to life." Emma smiled back, her heart swelling with gratitude. She had come so far since the day she first met Liam, and now she was ready to take on the next big challenge. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "I couldn't have done it without you." Liam leaned in, his eyes full of warmth and sincerity. "You've always had it in you, Emma. I just helped you see it." And with that, Emma knew for the first time that everything she had worked for was finally within reach. With the man she loved by her side, she was ready to face whatever came next. The future was hers to shape, and she was more than ready to make her dreams a reality. Months passed, and Emma's dream was becoming a reality. Her art studio, once just an idea sketched in the margins of her notebook, now stood as a bright, open space filled with paintings, sculptures, and the kind of creativity that had been bubbling inside her for years. It wasn't easy, of course. There were countless sleepless nights, tight budgets, and moments where Emma questioned whether she was truly cut out for this. But each time doubt crept in, she would remember Liam's words. "You've always had it in you, Emma." That encouragement had fueled her drive to push forward. The studio had begun to attract people, local artists and aspiring creators who wanted a space to learn, to collaborate, and to grow. Emma's vision was unfolding, and with every new face that walked through the door, she felt more confident that she had made the right decision. Still, she couldn't help but feel a little overwhelmed at times. The responsibility of running a business, managing the finances, and staying on top of everything that came with it was no small feat. But Liam was always there, offering advice when needed, checking in with her to make sure she was balancing work and personal life. He had been a steady presence, not just as her partner, but as her pillar of support. One evening, after a long day of meeting with potential clients and working on new art exhibits, Emma sat in her studio alone, looking at the paintings on the walls. The space felt different now, more alive, but also a little emptier without the energy of people filling it. She was used to being surrounded by people, but tonight, there was only silence. As she ran her fingers over a canvas she had just finished, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Her phone buzzed on the desk, interrupting her thoughts. She glanced at the screen and saw Liam's name. A wave of warmth washed over her as she picked up the phone. "Hey," she said, smiling softly. "How's everything going?" Liam's voice came through the phone, steady and reassuring. "I just wanted to check in," he said. "I know you've been working hard, and I wanted to make sure you're taking care of yourself." Emma chuckled softly, leaning back in her chair. "I'm fine, just thinking," she said. "It's been a lot lately, you know. I sometimes feel like I'm not doing enough, even though I'm doing everything I can." Liam paused for a moment, as though he was carefully choosing his words. "Emma," he said gently, "you've done more than enough. You've built something incredible here, and you're not alone. I'm always here for you." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She knew he meant it, and it meant everything to her. "Thank you, Liam," she whispered, her voice full of gratitude. "I don't know where I'd be without you." "You'd still be right here, Emma," he said. "You've always had the strength in you. You've just needed someone to remind you of it." She smiled, wiping away the tear that had escaped. "I'm glad it's you," she said softly. "I'm glad we're doing this together." They stayed on the phone for a while longer, talking about everything and nothing at all. When they finally said their goodbyes, Emma felt a sense of calm settle over her. The weight of the world didn't feel as heavy anymore. Liam had always been there to help her see the bigger picture, to remind her of who she was and what she was capable of. That night, as she closed the studio and locked the door, Emma realized that she was no longer afraid of the future. She had faced so many challenges and had come out stronger for it. And as long as she had Liam by her side, she knew that anything was possible. The next morning, Emma woke up to a beautiful message from Liam. "I'm so proud of you. What you've done with this studio is amazing. I can't wait to see where you go from here." She smiled as she read it, feeling a sense of pride in her heart. This was just the beginning, she knew. The future was bright, and with the man she loved by her side, Emma was ready to take on whatever came next. Her dream had already come true in ways she never expected, and now, it was time to see just how far she could go. As she stepped out of her apartment and headed to the studio, Emma felt like she was walking toward a new chapter of her life, one where she wasn't just building a business, but building a life she loved. The journey was far from over, but she was no longer afraid. She was ready for it all. Emma's art studio had become more than just a place for her to create. It had become a symbol of how far she had come, a tangible proof that her dreams could be realized with hard work, determination, and a little help from those who believed in her. The grand opening was set for a Saturday afternoon, and the excitement in the air was palpable. Local artists, friends, and even a few clients from Parker Technologies were coming to celebrate with her. Balloons swayed gently in the soft breeze outside, and sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating every corner of the space with a warm, golden glow. Emma walked through the studio, adjusting displays and making sure everything was perfect. She felt a mixture of nerves and excitement, knowing that this day marked a turning point in her life. She had worked tirelessly to get here, and now it was time to see the fruits of her labor. As the guests began to arrive, she greeted each one with a smile, offering thanks and sharing a little about the journey that had led her to this moment. Then she saw Liam entering through the main doors. He looked as dashing as ever, his presence commanding yet comforting, and Emma felt her heart skip a beat. He made his way toward her, a warm smile spreading across his face. "You did it, Emma," he said softly, taking her hand in his. "This is incredible. I am so proud of you." Emma felt a rush of emotion and squeezed his hand in return. "I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered. Liam shook his head gently. "No, Emma, you did this. I just reminded you of the strength you already had inside." The guests mingled, admiring the art and the atmosphere. But Emma found herself looking back at Liam, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and love. The day went on, filled with laughter, conversations, and the soft clinking of glasses as people toasted to her success. As the sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow across the studio, Liam pulled Emma aside, a small velvet box in his hand. Her eyes widened as she realized what was happening. "Emma," he said, his voice steady but full of emotion, "from the moment I met you, I knew there was something special about you. You've grown into someone incredible, and I want to be by your side for every moment to come. Will you marry me?" Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she looked at him, her heart racing with joy. The room seemed to disappear around them, leaving only the two of them in that perfect, suspended moment. "Yes," she whispered, barely able to get the words out, her voice shaking with happiness. Liam smiled, slipping the ring onto her finger, and they embraced, holding each other tightly as if they never wanted to let go. The guests erupted into applause, and Emma felt a surge of love and contentment that she had never known before. This was more than a proposal. It was the culmination of a journey that had begun with a simple act of kindness on a cold, gray morning. Everything had led to this moment, the struggles, the uncertainty, the late nights, the fear of failure, all of it had been worth it. As the evening continued, Emma and Liam shared stories, laughter, and quiet moments of connection amidst the celebration. They danced together, surrounded by friends and well-wishers, the studio alive with energy and warmth. Emma looked around at the vibrant space, at the people who had come to support her, and at Liam, who had been by her side through it all, and she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. This was not just the success of her career, but the triumph of perseverance, love, and trust. She had been given a chance, and she had seized it. And now, with Liam by her side, she knew that whatever challenges the future held, they would face them together. The studio was filled with light, laughter, and promise, and Emma realized that this was only the beginning. Life had opened a new chapter for her, one filled with love, creativity, and endless possibilities. And as she held Liam's hand and looked out at the crowd, she felt a deep, enduring sense of joy and certainty she was exactly where she was meant to be. And with him, she was home.